Hey guys, so before I get started on my makeup, I'm going to be putting in some contacts. They are in the shade Premier Brown from the brand Kazzue. I've actually got a few messages asking how to purchase these because they're not actually available to purchase directly through their website. You have to go through a secondhand retailer, so I will have that retailer linked down below just so it's a little bit easier for you guys to find them. So as you might be able to see, they make my iris look a little bit bigger and kind of more animated, so I thought they would be cool for this voodoo doll look. Okay, so I quickly just did my brows off camera, and now I'm just going to prime my eyes using Urban Decay's primer potion. I know I normally don't show it in my videos, but priming your eyes is definitely like the most important step in doing your eye makeup. I'm just going to quickly set that. This brush is from Powder and Pandemonium. I always get questions about it, and it is my favorite powder brush. Alright, so all over my eyes, I'm applying Makeup Geek's creased eyeshadow from their In the Nude palette. I'm using a Dose of Colors blending brush and blending it out through my crease. Now I'm using a Sigma E70 and bringing that shadow down along my lower lash line as well. Now I'm going in with the shade Dark Roast from the same Makeup Geek palette and applying it to my outer V area and my lower lash line using a Sigma E20 brush. Now I'm going in with the matte highlight shade in the palette. It's called So Pale, and I'm just using this in my inner corner area to lighten it up a little bit. Alright, so now I'm going to be doing my eyeliner using a Sigma L06 brush and some gel liner from Frankie Rose Cosmetics. I'm applying a really small wing on both the inner corner of my eye and the outer corner. I'm also putting some liner around my waterline and tightline. Alright, so now I'm going to be adding some contour around my face, and for this I'm using my Lunatic Cosmetic Labs contour book. First I'm applying shading to underneath my cheekbones using a Morphe E4 brush. I'm also being sure to shade underneath my jawline as well, and also my temples and hairline area. I'm also going to use this Wet n Wild brush to add some contour to my nose. Now I'm using my Dose of Colors contour brush and a slightly darker shade to deepen up the contour. Now I'm using the matte white highlight shade from this palette to pretty much highlight everywhere where I didn't apply contour. Alright, so now that my face looks like almost fake, I'm going to be mapping out where I'm going to be putting like stitches and stuff. Okay, so now I'm going to be drawing a button on the tip of my nose, and the first step to that is just drawing a black circle. I'm filling that in with a gray from the contour book that I used, and now just lightening it a little bit with some foundation. Alright, so now I'm going in with some black gel liner to outline the button. Okay, so now within the button I'm drawing another circle with a smaller diameter. And now within that circle I'm going to be drawing 4 little dots. I'm just going to use this white liner from LA Splash to add highlights around the rim of the button, and I'm also making the dots white instead of black. I'm adding some super light foundation inside of the rip on my cheek to kind of give the illusion of stuffing. I'm also shading around the edge with some black and dark brown. The eyeshadows that I'm using are from the Makeup Geek palette that I used on my eyes, as well as my Tartelette palette. Alright, so I think I want to move the stitch on my forehead, so I'm just going to take it off really quick and pat over it with some foundation. Alright, so I'm just really blending in the shadow around where the stitches are going to go. Now I'm going to go in with some darker brown and define the lines a little bit better. Alright, now I'm going to go over that and just make a black line. Now I'm using a Morphe Y22 brush and the brown eyeshadows and making kind of like shaded circles around the lines to plan where the actual stitches are going to go. Now I'm using a Makeup Addiction eyeliner brush to add actual little black circles within my brown circles. Okay, so I have this little net that I don't even remember where I got this, but I'm cutting it up for the stitches. Okay, so I have this net that I got I don't even remember where I got it. I think I got it, it was like in a PR package as decoration or something, but I'm using it for the string on these stitches, so I'm just going to be cutting it up into little pieces. Okay, so to adhere the little pieces of string to my face, I'm going to be using Prosade, so I'm just making little dots of Prosade on top of where I already put the eyeshadow dots. Now I'm just using little tweezers to stick on the strings. So since this stitch is undone, the little pieces that I'm gluing on around the part that's open are half the size of the regular pieces. By the way, if you don't have any Prosade, you can probably make it work with just lash glue. Once the Prosade is all dry, it's still a little bit shiny, and the same thing would happen with lash glue, so I'm just going over the little places where the string is supposed to be, like going into the skin, with some black eyeshadow. Alright, so I'm going to be doing some stuff on my neck, so I'm just adding some foundation to kind of prime the area for shading. I'm just going to buff that in using this little vibrating brush from Michael Todd. It's much quicker at blending in foundation than a sponge. Okay, so I'm going to be blending a line of light brown along the lower region of my neck. Now I'm just going to use the brush again to kind of buff that out. Now I'm going back in and adding a dark gray color. I'm also going to use a liquid black face paint. This is from Mayron, and I'm just going to try to really make the line look as dark as possible. And now I'm just going to cover my lips with foundation. Okay, so now I'm going to be extending the edges of my mouth with some light brown eyeshadow. I'm also kind of shading my bottom lip with this as well. Next I'm going in with the darker brown. Okay, and of course, lastly, I'm going in with some black eyeshadow. Okay, so now I'm going to be doing the same thing that I did with the other stitches on my face and doing little light brown circles around each line to kind of plan where the string is going to go. So since these stitches are bigger, I'm going to add some shadow between each stitch so that it looks more shaded when I add the string on top of it. Alright, so I'm just using my Makeup Forever Flash palette to sketch a little heart on my left collarbone. I'm just shading around the edges of the heart with some dark brown eyeshadow, and then after I'm done with that, I'm adding in some black. Alright, now I'm just going to go back in with the liquid face paint and outline the heart. And while I'm at it, I'm going to put some on the sides of my mouth as well. Okay, so I found these giant needles on Amazon, and I thought they would be cool to incorporate into this look. And for the heart, I don't want it to be stitched on. I want it to kind of be like pinned on with a needle. So I'm going to put a few layers of liquid latex right on the center of the heart, and then I'm going to be kind of weaving the needle underneath that. So while that's drying, I'm going to start adding the dots of Prosade to stick on the pieces of string. Alright, so gonna stick on this piece of yarn, and I did actually cut the pieces of yarn a tiny bit bigger so that it gave me some room to like move my head. So as you can see, when I'm like this, it's kind of, oh, I don't know if you can see, but when I'm like this, it's kind of bent because it's a little big. But then when I go like that, it's like straight. So just a little handy dandy trick. All right, so now that I'm done with that, I'm gonna add another layer of liquid latex. Okay, so I don't know if you can tell, but the string that I used on my neck stitches kind of comes undone at the end and it's a little bit frayed. So I'm just going to be dotting on some liquid latex right on top of each end to kind of keep it together and also to seal it down. Okay, so while that dries, I'm going to put the strings across my mouth. I'm going to cut the strings a little bit bigger, so I probably will still be able to kind of talk with them, but either way, I'm just going to do the rest of the video in voiceover so that I don't have to move my mouth after putting the strings on top of it. Of course, the coolest part of the video is out of focus, but here I'm just sliding the needle underneath the latex on the heart, and then I'm moving on to follow the same steps on my mouth that I did on my neck. I'm sticking on the strings and then covering each little end with liquid latex. Once the latex is dried, I'm shading more brown around the stitches and then going in with black like I did with the smaller strings on my face. I also put some red shadow over top the latex on the heart, and then I decided to shade underneath and glue down the string coming out of the needle. For my falsies, I'm using the style Go Big or Go Home from Bold Faced Makeup, and then for my lower lashes, I'm using Salon Perfects number 615. So that finishes the look. I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you do, please give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, I just want to say, because I know people are going to ask, I actually was able to speak with this, like with the strings over my mouth. I just wasn't able to open my mouth super wide or like laugh out loud. If I were to wear this out, I would probably just make the strings a little bit longer to give me more like mobility in my mouth, but I could still talk fine, so it's not a huge issue.